Welcome back. It's the closing table. We are live. It's Wednesday. We are ready to rock and roll. Ben, nice to see you. Let's jump into this thing. First of all, we want to thank our presenting sponsor, New Leaf Home Inspections. They're North Carolina's most trusted home inspector. Ben, we're going to kick things off with the college football final. What do you think, man? Indiana, Miami. We talked about it last week, who we thought was going to win. We all saw how it played out. What'd you think?
Well, it's nice to be able to say that I'm right, as usual, in my prediction of Indiana winning. But no, seriously, I thought it was a fantastic football game. It was well played, a lot of hard hitting. There are a few missed calls. It either seems like they either miss a lot of calls, the refs do, or they call way too many. There's not a happy medium. But, I thought it was a great football game. I'm really happy for Indiana, and what a story. I mean, you talk about remember the old basketball movie Hoosiers, Doug? Perhaps you remember that, about the high school team in Indiana, Hickory High. They can make a Hoosiers Part 2 just about these guys. The way that Kirk Signetti came in and within 2 years took a dumpster fire of a program historically and has turned it into a national champion within 2 years. It's absolutely unbelievable. Great football game. I'm really happy for the Hoosier Nation. As a Kentucky native, right across the bridge there, Indiana, spent some time over there with those nice folks, and just really happy for their program and for their university.
Yeah, just an awesome story. And even Signetti said, man, that this would make a great movie a couple of weeks ago, right? So I think Hoosiers 2 should definitely be in the works. I'd watch it 100%. I think the bigger story here is it's completely shifted the paradigm. Forever coaches and administrators have said, you can't turn a ship around that quickly. That's impossible. It takes years. We got to give these coaches time. Well, Indiana is historically the worst Division I football college team. The worst record overall. 2 years later, national champions. Just freaking amazing. And all the people, of course, there's haters. All their players are too old. Everybody's playing by the same rules, guys. And they're not even spending the most in NIL, not even close. They got outspent by plenty of folks. So, in this day and age, don't tell me recruiting smart and that coaching still don't matter, because Kurt Signetti's on top of the heap right now. And it was fun to watch. I think they got one more year before everybody's sick of them, but we'll see what happens.
One other thing too, Doug. I saw on social media there was a picture of his first game coached, and it was a home game in Indiana, his first ever game there, and they were at 25% capacity. Nobody was there. You could have shot multiple shotguns off and it wouldn't hit anybody. That's how empty it was. So just to see the turnaround, I'm like you, man. What a great story. I love it.
Yeah, me too. It's fun to watch, and it'll be cool to see kind of how other people try to replicate maybe his approach and how successful they are going forward. So now it's time to reload, right? Speaking of reloading, let's move on to your approved. Ben, everybody's an expert on everything now, and it shifts every week. 1 week we're experts on healthcare. The next week we're experts on, taxes. The next week we're all experts on the Federal Reserve policy. The next week's we're all experts on housing policy. Who's really the expert, and are you just tired of everybody having an opinion? Which, is kind of a hard thing to say for us, because basically this show is about our opinion. So what do you think?
Right. I've been sick of it. Whenever there's a big story that gets released, all of a sudden, everybody on social media becomes a foreign policy expert, a homeland security expert, a border ICE expert. Just completely. It's nuts. It's just nuts. I'm a firm believer of staying in your lane. It's just like when we do a real estate transaction, Doug. I do the mortgage part. If somebody comes to me and says, and they're working with you as a real estate agent, and they say, hey, what should I offer on this house? I refer to you. I defer to the expert in their field. Not my opinion on the situation. Just the same as if somebody says, hey, Doug, what's the interest rate today? Well, you need to talk to Ben about that, right? So it's a lot about, for me, it's about staying in your lane and not pretending to be smarter than I am. I don't know. I get so sick of it. Everybody's got an opinion, especially, too, in sports. I am tired to death of the ESPN talking heads. Ryan Clark, he's one that needs to go. Cam Newton, even though I'm a Panther faithful, Cam, I mean, seriously, I get so sick of it. Their takes, and those are guys that actually played ball. That's I could go on and on about the guys that never even shot a basket, never stepped on a court, never threw a football, never made a tackle going in about their expertise. So yeah, everybody's got an opinion, but we all know the old saying about opinions, don't we?
Everybody's got that, and one other thing too, and most of the time they both smell bad.
That's right.
All right, so I think we can both agree that we would disapprove everybody having an opinion constantly all the time. Just consume the info and, keep your opinion to yourself sometime. Not everybody needs to know your thoughts on everything, especially on social media. I mean, just give it a rest, folks. Moving on to On the Hunt. The whole world is talking a lot about AI lately. Not only that it's supposed to do really good things, but it's being implemented into pretty much every facet of our life, from products you use at your house to the way you approach business. And now, energy policy is starting to be really affected by all this AI because it needs a tremendous amount of power. What are your thoughts on where we're headed with AI, and do you have any concerns?
I mean, honestly, I grew up watching the Terminator movies, and so I go back to when is Skynet gonna cause our missiles to attack ourselves? I'm at a place with it where I think AI is kind of cool as long as it can be controlled. It needs to be a controlled environment, but yet who's the people in charge of controlling it, right? I mean, if you think about it, AI has the ability to think and absorb knowledge a lot faster than a human brain can, as far as all the knowledge it can carry and the accuracy that it withholds. I don't know. I'm half and half. Part of me thinks it's kind of cool, but the other part of me thinks it's very dangerous, and we need to be very careful. I do remember Elon Musk, who's I like to consider far smarter than I am. Obviously, he even says, "Hey, we got to be really careful with this stuff." So, I'm not a big fan of it, but at the end of the day, if it's a necessary evil, let's just find a way to put a cap on how powerful AI can actually get.
Yeah, I think you nailed probably my approach on it too. We got to make sure there's always a kill switch somewhere, right? I don't want to end up in the Matrix as powering the AI myself. Not to be too conspiracy theory, but I think it's a legitimate concern that we got to make sure that we stay in control of this stuff and not let the cart lead the horse. Right? Make sure we're designing this stuff. We got to build it to work for us, not replace us. So we'll see what happens. But I think that's a good segue into locking it in because you don't want to get locked in one of these robo-taxis. What are your thoughts on, these are expanding across the country, these self-driving cars. Have you ever, you don't have a Tesla, I don't believe. I don't have a Tesla. Have you ever ridden in one that's a self-driver?
So I've had two of them that actually, they have the option to be able to do that. What it does when you're like, especially when I'm on the highway or something, it's kind of like putting it in cruise control. You can adapt the setting to where it'll drive itself, but you have to be careful. And also too, if your hand is off the steering wheel for too long, it'll tell you, hey, get your hands back on. At least let us know you're still there. Okay. So there are safety precautions. So I've had a vehicle that I just parted ways with that had that capability, and the new one I bought just last week has that capability. I think it's cool, but at the same time, I don't want it to dictate where we're going. I want to be able to be the one, kind of like with AI, to press and control the button, especially if I'm in the vehicle and we're moving at any rate of speed. Again, I don't trust all this stuff yet. I think in the future, you're probably going to see a lot of it. It would be pretty cool for people that have a problem with drinking and driving, getting behind the wheel. At least they can just tell the car, hey, get me on home, let's go, and get there safely. And hopefully everybody else can get there safely as a result of that person not driving. So, it's cool. It's cool. I enjoy the feature on my car, but I like the ability to be able to press it when I want to do it, and also be able to immediately remove it when I feel like, hey, maybe we're teetering a little bit too far to the left or whatever. I just want to be in control, just like AI. I want to be in control of it. How about you, Doug?
Yeah, definitely a great concept. It'd be interesting to see how much it replaces, traditional taxis or even Ubers. At this point, I'm not a big fan of people losing their opportunities for employment for things like this, but if it's something that can assist people, I think that's a great idea. It definitely will be interesting to see how it plays out. Never ridden in one that's a self-driver. Seen the videos, so you know how that is, but definitely going to be interesting to see how it continues to trend with, rollouts in major metropolitan areas where, I believe they'll probably have more use. So let's keep on moving with due diligence. We're about 3 weeks into the new year now. Prices are looking like they've stabilized a little bit. I think year over year appreciation is probably going to be kind of even or down a little bit, maybe from what we've been used to. Rates dropped under 6 last week for just a minute and then popped back up yesterday. Things are a little volatile right now. Things are reacting that way. Where do you see things heading based on what you've seen so far this year?
I think we're heading in the right direction. Anything beats the direction we were on. That trajectory was leading us to 7.5%, 8% consistent rates. And inflation was absolutely out of control. Gas prices are now starting to come down. And as the cost of gas and energy go down, everything else will go down. As far as homes, I think home prices are going to stay steady. I don't think that there's going to be a big increase this coming year. But it's a situation where as rates fall, perhaps that may be the case. You may have a lot of folks that have been sitting on the sideline or not wanting to sell their existing home because the rate's 3.5%, 4%. Well, they could tolerate something in the 5s, but when you talk to them about moving and having to take a rate in the 7s, that's a totally different paint job, right? So I think for at least for what I'm saying, I think for all parts of being a consumer in our economy, things are going to be getting a whole lot better in 2026. Policy's been put into place. A lot of that policy is enacted January 1, and so now we'll reap the benefits of that stuff. I mean, at least that's what I voted for. That's my expectation. And, if it doesn't, I think they'll find solutions. We'll also get a new Fed chair here in a few months. And I mean, let's go. I'm excited about 2026, Doug, I'll tell you.
Well, that's a great segue, Ben, into our next topic, which is Fix This. And this was going to talk a little bit more about kind of economic factors and what's going on so far that we've seen this year. We just hit yesterday officially a year of Trump being in office. So things have had time to get into place, new policies. What policies are you still waiting to see that you think would make a big difference, especially for buyers and sellers in the real estate market?
Well, we talked about the tariff ruling, we talk about policy. Policy is a big part of this. If it weren't for the tariff policy, the Supreme Court wouldn't be reviewing it and making a decision. They were supposed to be releasing, hopefully, we were going to hear something yesterday, but they released 3 underlying, forms of what they've been discussing on different topics. And it looks like that the tariff conversation will be tabled for at least another month. I think that's the biggest piece, the most critical component of policy into 2026, in my personal opinion. I also, the big, beautiful bill as it was labeled, I don't think there's anything beautiful about big, heavy bills necessarily. But I will tell you, at least the policy from my perspective that a lot of this stuff is being driven from will be good for our country. I truly believe that. I want to see the deficit come down. We are $39 trillion in debt as a country. That is unreal. And you look at all the billions of dollars in fraud that's going around. We got to get smarter, and we got to get some honest people in there quick, or we're doomed. So yeah, I think the tariff policy is the biggest piece for me, and the thing that I'm most paying attention to.
Do you think it's a good sign or a bad sign that it's being delayed?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? If I don't see how it's even that controversial. When it seems like when the other side is in power, they get whatever they want whenever they want it, all the time. Things get pushed through, and their agenda gets set. We spend, the right spends entirely too much time arguing amongst each other instead of being united against some of the terrible policy that we saw over the last 3 or 4 years. And it was awful policy. Let's be honest. Open borders, inflation going rampant. Remember when they said it was transitory? It was just transitory. Well, no, it wasn't. I mean, it's just I could go on and on ad nauseum, but I will tell you, again, for me, the tariff part is the most important. And I think that the Supreme Court, perhaps they're just doing more due diligence on it. I don't know. But I'm praying that they make the right call and the right decision on this.
Well, it seems like most of the decisions they've made over the last year or so have been mostly sensical decisions. So hopefully they continue that trend going forward for this one, because if they rule against it, I think the ramifications are going to be really tough to swallow. So we'll have to see what happens. But let's move on from news and business. Let's talk about sports a little bit more. Yesterday, they voted and released the results of the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame vote for this year. And 2 players got voted in: Carlos Beltran, who played for the Mets and the Astros, among others, and Andrew Jones, who played for my Braves, among others. Ben, I know football is your biggest sport, really. What do you think about Major League Baseball? And a little bit further, what do you think about steroid era players still being left off or still not getting voted in?
They should be. They should be. I do not care that they are left off the ballot. I don't care that they're not being voted in. They had an opportunity to do it the legal right way within the rules of the game, and they didn't do it. I'll tell you the biggest travesty, in my opinion, in the Baseball Hall of Fame is the fact that Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame. We go back to betting on baseball, that kind of thing. He did it as a manager. Was he wrong? 100%. Did he lie about it? He sure did. But he spent 20 years after the said lie, 25 years, then being open about, hey, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. But at the end of the day, Charlie Hustle was the ultimate ball player. And for him not being in the Hall of Fame and for them not, letting him in when he was alive, I think is a disgrace. I remember one of the, I think it was an all-star game. They brought out the all-century team. And Pete Rose was out there, and that little weasel of an interviewer, Jim Gray, tried to humiliate him on national TV while he was in front of the entire world in what was supposed to be a special moment for him to be able to even be on a baseball field, a Major League Baseball field again. And, I remember that very distinctly. Jim Gray tried to embarrass him. Jim Gray made an idiot out of himself. He makes me sick. But anyway, I want Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. I think he belongs there. Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. Sorry, fellas, y'all juiced up. You juiced up to get big so you could hit massive amounts of home runs, while Babe Ruth in the 30s was smoking cigars and drinking a case of beer and getting up the next day and going out and doing it. No PEDs and all that kind of stuff. So, I think as far as the steroid crew goes, y'all can sit on the sidelines. You had a choice. You made the wrong one. Did you have a great career? You sure did, but you sure had a lot of help too.
Love it. I didn't know you were such a big Pete Rose fan, but it makes sense, I guess, being there across the river in Kentucky from Cincinnati. That was probably the closest team to you guys growing up, huh?
Right. My grandmother was one of the biggest Cincinnati Reds fans that you ever met in your life. When they weren't on TV, and back then they weren't on TV often, she would listen to them on the radio. And when we were out at her house, if you talked during that 3.5 hour broadcast, you were exiled from the room. So Cincinnati Reds baseball was serious business. But even if I wasn't a Cincinnati follower or even semi-fan or whatever you want to call it, Pete Rose still deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. He didn't bet on it when he was playing. At least they didn't say he did. And he wasn't caught doing it. But the guy gave his heart and soul for baseball, and he did it without those performance-enhancing drugs that these other clowns had to take to be relevant.
I love it. I would love to see him in the Hall of Fame. I've been to Riverfront Stadium back when it existed to see the Reds play. I'm going to go on the opposite side of the coin here. These guys were playing against guys who were juiced up. So, in my opinion, it was a pretty level playing field, and they still did great. A lot of these guys were great players even without that stuff. I think that I think that Major League Baseball writers are just as bad as Major League Baseball umpires. Worst officials in all of sport, worst writers in all of sport. These old men who hadn't played a sport in 70 years still think that everything should be done back the way it was done in the 50s and 60s and just can't get their heads out of their ass about it. But, it is what it is. My biggest thing that Major League Baseball needs to get figured out is getting TV fixed so we can watch our teams play, like the Braves. And I used to be able to watch them on TBS every single game. Like the Cubs, you used to be able to watch on WGN every single game. The superstations, bring back the superstations, man. Let us watch the games. It shouldn't be so difficult. That's my counteroffer.
Well, let me counteroffer on this. So, one, you can watch every game. You can order the MLB network. It's $160 a year for the season. And you can watch every out-of-market game that you want to unless something's blacked out in your area. So there's a way for you to do it, Doug, if you really want to get serious about it. The other thing, too, it sounds to me like you're saying that taking PEDs is okay. Is that what you're saying?
Hey, man, let's see how high humans can jump and how fast they can run. Let's just give everybody unfettered access and see what can happen. Let's just have the Avengers out there. Who gives a shit? Whatever. Let's just go for it.
Look, I got a new nickname for you. It's PED, and the D stands for Doug. PE Doug over here.
There you go.
Oh, my goodness. All right,
fantastic. All right, let's keep the train moving. Let's talk about a North Carolina topic. So, unfortunately, recently there was a fatal bicycle crash up in the mountains in the Asheville area, bringing to light, new legislation about bike lanes, expanding bike lanes, etc. I think that everybody should have the opportunity to do things that they enjoy without infringing upon other people's rights. I definitely never want to see anybody get hurt, but I got to tell you, bicyclists on major highways have got to be one of the dumbest things in the entire world. Find a trail, find a quiet road. There is no need to have a bike lane on every single highway and major road in North Carolina where people are driving. There are plenty of other spaces. And let's just be honest, Ben. These bicyclists act like they own the road and they don't pay any attention to the rules. What are your thoughts?
So here's the thing. Technically, by law, it states that the bicyclist has as much right to the road as a person driving an automobile. My main concern, my mom used to go on these, 50, 60-mile bike rides. And she would even do some of they're not a marathon, but whatever they're called, where they all get together and go ride. I asked her a long time ago to stop doing it because it's dangerous. People will try to be extra mean to these bicyclists, run them off the road, do a lot of mean things, throw stuff at them. And if somebody did that to my mother, I would personally go hunt them down wherever they did it at.
Yeah.
So part of me, has empathy, right, towards the bicyclists. But I will tell you this, you're putting yourself in a very compromising situation when you're on the road on a bicycle. You have no protection other than a helmet, which you're supposed to be wearing on your head. The rest of your body is just in free fall. You hit that pavement or you get ran over, it's over with. You got to be careful. I think bicyclists have a right to go out and ride their bicycle. They just need to be smart in where they're doing it at. Major highways, major traffic areas, and even country back roads are very dangerous. So what's the alternative? I don't know. But I do know that I always am extra cautious. I slow down. And I encourage everybody else out there, when you see a bicyclist on the road, regardless of what they're doing, whether they're right or wrong, just know that's somebody's mother, somebody's father, somebody's brother or sister, somebody's husband or wife. They've got a family to go home to. So try to take care of them when you're on the road and do your best there.
Nice. Good advice. I like that, Ben. Good approach to that. Let's keep on moving. There's a social media trend every year, it seems like. And the trend this month has been, hey, what were you doing in 2016, 10 years ago? Post a bunch of pictures of what you were doing then. Is this a legitimate fun thing, or is this some huge psyop that somebody somewhere, the people pulling the strings, are using to get one over on us?
Well, look, I certainly don't want to be posting pictures of what I was doing in 2016. I can tell you that. As a matter of fact, I'm just grateful that camera phones and video recording phones weren't relevant or available during my younger years. But no, 2016, I'm pretty good behavior. I don't feel a need to get involved with these social trends. I have photos in my phone from 2016 that I can go through and look at anytime I please. My son Luke, who's 8, he loves to go through the phone and reminisce on old pictures. That's why I have them. I don't have them to share with the world out there. Most of the content that I had on my phone that I wanted shared in the first place was shared in 2016 already. So I don't know. I don't feel the need to double dip. I mean, if anything, I would go back and find a photo of me a lot thinner and having not as much gray in my hair, and that kind of thing. Maybe I would post it for that reason, but then somebody meet me in person and say, "Man, that's not you." Well, it was 10 years ago, but anyway, no, I think it's ridiculous. Society and it comes up with so many different stupid things to get involved with. And I've got a whole lot better to do with my day than post pictures from 2016 because some idiot said it was trendy.
I love it. Fantastic. Yeah, it's wild.
I sound like an old grumpy dude. I sound like an old grumpy guy over here, Doug. What's going on?
You sound like an old grumpy guy, Ben. Maybe you're just an old grumpy guy. I love it.
If the shoe fits, you got to wear that thing, baby. Let's go.
Well, so what are you looking forward to over the next week as we bring this baby home and we get to closing time? We've got NFC and AFC finals coming up, which is going to lead to the Super Bowl. College football's over now, so we got college basketball really ramping up. Everybody's really getting into conference play now. What is it you're looking forward to? What do you think is going to happen? Let's get your predictions for the AFC and NFC title games.
Well, I think the Patriots are going to get a win. Obviously, with the Broncos having a big victory last week, they lost Bo Nix on the second to last play due to a fractured ankle. That's really sad. I mean, he played a heck of a game too. So that stinks. I don't like that for the Broncos or for football in general. You want the best lining up against the best. So I think the Patriots will handle business with the backup quarterback that Denver's going to have. I think the Patriots defense is good enough to really give him problems, and their offense is certainly good enough to score on the Broncos. As far as the NFC, I mean, Seattle looks like a juggernaut right now, but the Rams, they know them. They're division rivals, they're division opponents, and the Rams can get it done too. They've got a lot of weapons on offense. It's a matter if they can get stops on defense. And as a Panthers fan, I went through the Sam Darnold era. I watched a lot of his games in person, and I'm here to tell you I do not trust Sam Darnold, period. In a big game, a tight game, when it comes down to it, you need to make a play, the guy makes an interception. He just does. It's what he does. He's historically done it. And I'm not a Sam Darnold hater. Sam Darnold, if you're listening to our show, much love and respect, brother.
Hey,
I'll
Sam.
tell you something, man. Hey, Sam, what's up, brother? But I do count on Sam Darnold to not be able to get it done when it matters, when it's on the line, when his defense is saving his ass every other drive, what have you. But, hey, he's played incredible. The guy's made a great resurgence in his career, so more power to him. As far as basketball goes, I was going to give you a lot of crap today about NC State getting beat by Georgia Tech. That was actually going to be a topic today I was going to intervene on. But then hold on, let me get there. Then you went to Clemson and beat Clemson at home last night. I'm like, wait a minute. This team is all over the place. And my Louisville Cardinals, we need Mikael Brown Jr. back so badly. It's unreal how much we miss him. Hopefully he's coming back soon. But, Doug, I love college basketball. It's fantastic. I do think in the NIL, just like with football, they've got to get this stuff figured out to make it not just a complete fiasco, for lack of a better word. It's a complete fiasco right now, but it's still a lot of fun to watch, and it's still one of my favorite sports. My UNCW Seahawks, go local, go Hawks here in Wilmington, North Carolina. The Seahawks, I think they're 18-2 right now. Saturday night had a big comeback win against Campbell. I was there. The Trask Coliseum, the Coliseum of Chaos, was rocking. They were on fire. Had a blast, but I'm really glad to see our teams having some success this year, Doug, on a personal level. How about you, brother? What are you engaging in this weekend? What are you most interested in? Oh, real quick, before you answer that, don't let me forget, the Australian Open is going on. So yours truly gets to stay up extra late into the wee hours of the morning due to Australian time, right? They're on the other side of the world to watch the first Grand Slam championship of the year. So for me, even without college football, it's still a plethora of events. But Doug, what's on your closing table, if you will? What's on your table for sports this weekend?
Well, yeah, I think the Wolfpack redeemed themselves a little bit last night, but they are such Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde team right now. There's just no consistency. I think they've got some talent. They just got to put it together consistently. The Georgia Tech loss just sucked. I think we kind of crossed it out by beating Clemson last night, but who knows what we're going to do next time. So you just got to hope that they're learning and getting better and figuring it out better, getting their rotation better, and that they can put it together a little bit better and kind of build on that instead of just petering out. I think the bad thing about the Georgia Tech game was Will Wade even said after they absolutely destroyed Florida State, they didn't have a midweek game. So you had this best game of the year they played, and then they went a whole week until they had another game, and I think that showed against Georgia Tech because it just came out so flat. So maybe they got it figured out now. About the NFL, it really sucks for the Broncos. In my opinion, they should have called up P-Riv because he's, Indy's done. Hey, P-Riv, come pinch hit for us. You can do this as good as the backup dude. And then you got a North Carolina quarterback in Drake May versus P-Riv from NC State playing the AFC Finals. How much fun would that have been in a dream scenario? But, yeah, I think the Patriots are probably going to cakewalk after there were some great games this past weekend. And I think you got to give the edge to the Rams, too, just because they've been there and done it with this coach and this quarterback, right? So I think they can probably do it again, and I think you're probably right with Darnold. So we'll see if we end up with Pats and the Rams in the Super Bowl here in a couple of weeks. It'll be exciting.
I think either way it goes, we're in for a really good Super Bowl. I really do. I'm excited. It's been a great playoff this year. I mean, and if the Rams win it, hey, validates the Panthers. We were right there. We had them beat. Just gave it away. We prevented ourselves from winning by going in the prevent defense. Every team does that. It's called the prevent defense. And it prevents you from winning, is what I see it. I
That's
think you need
exactly
to blitz
right.
the hell out of them and keep playing aggressive. But anyway, that's my take on it.
That's sage advice. I love that. All it does is prevent you from winning. And, the NFL playoffs have been good. That college football final, man, I mean, it came right down to the wire. I mean, Beck threw that pick with just a little bit of time left. So they still had a chance, even though it seemed like they were dead in the water there in the first half. So just really great. And I think that's what most people hope for in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl, especially after your team is eliminated. It's just like, hey, give me something to stay engaged that I can enjoy. We all hate blowouts unless it's our team doing the blowing out.
Right. There's an asterisk next to that, just like there is with PED players in baseball.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of, I'm PED here, and I'm signing off because we're at the closing table, and it's closing time. The docs are filed. Everything is signed. We are closed. Again, thank you to our sponsor and our presenting sponsor, New Leaf Home Inspections, North Carolina's most trusted home inspector. Ben, brother, I will see you next week. It's been fun.
Sounds great, Doug. Look forward to it, brother. Have a great week.